throttle up.
Okay. No more Kerbal 2. What?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
No, Gotsar, I'm too I'm busy. I'm too busy, man. I don't have the time. And I hate saying that. It kills me to freaking say that. I don't have the time right now to commit to like hardcore KSP play. Wedding in like a week and a half. So I'm trying to just play games that you can kind of just jump into right now. That and KSP does need more time in the oven, but I'll admit I've been kind of using that as an excuse to not like commit to a big Kerbal project, but I want to. I really do. Yeah. No time? Yeah, like today, where I planned on finishing all the wiring for the truck, finish the things that I actually needed to get done, and then figured out that the brake lights don't work. And then the reason why I'm late for the damn stream is because I had to go grab a new part, the new brake light switch, because I had to I had to take apart the wire harness that I just finished tidying up because I thought I was done, and then I had to figure out what went wrong. And then I remembered that my Ford has a Chevy wiring harness in it, and because I wired it a couple of years ago, It does not, yeah, looking in the shop manual doesn't really do you any good. Yeah. There's a freaking brake light switch, geek. 0.04 volts on contact. The thing kicked the bucket, dude. Right when I finished the damn wiring harness. So I had to take apart all that cable management that I had like on the steering column and stuff. I took that whole thing apart because I had to figure out how it worked. I forgot how it worked. I forgot it's a Chevy harness. So I took the whole damn thing apart. And the dash is literally in pieces right now. So, guys, what we're going to do to start the stream, I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish all the work. I just got to put everything back together. Grease the Zerks. I still haven't done that. The grease gun's still in the box, man. At least you figured it out. You can always tidy it up later. Yeah. It's actually pretty trick. I will say that 60s GM really, really was good at what they do. So this is a logic problem for anybody that's a little bit of a software nut. Also, that's nice. That is a nice rocket, man. I like Vulcan a lot. It's a guilty pleasure, man. Falcon 9's gonna be amazing. You can't beat Falcon 9, but that thing almost can. And when smart reuse happens, it's gonna be pretty freaking cool. Anyway, yeah, I just got to tidy up everything. Yeah. Do the SRBs on Vulcan gimbal or are they fixed? Sumo, they're fixed. They're fixed. Because you have two engines, you don't need gimbalable thrust. However, if you want to see something cool, and Atlas's SRBs are the same way. Couple little thing about attachable SRBs here, and we're looking at a Delta. So this is WGS9. So check this out. SRB nozzles are actually pointing through the center of mass. They take a little bit of a cosine thrust loss, just a little bit, as a trade-off for stability. The nozzle's actually bent outwards. The crazy thing is that those ones are bent outwards, and that one is gimbalable. See that? That is a gimbalable SRB. Now, why would you need a gimbalable SRB on... Why would you have that? Yeah, see the nozzle? The nozzle actually has a boot, and it's actually pointed inwards. It's actually pointing this way, if you really want to know. It's pointing towards you guys. Now, why? Why would you do that? That one over there is also gimbalable as well. Yeah, There's a fixed nozzle, gimbal, right? And then you have your single RS-68 in the stage. Only one center engine. You got it, Sumo. Yep. One RS-68A. Now, the reason why I showed Delta is to show the difference. Atlas's SRBs kind of look like this. Atlas does not have stuff like this. Delta has a gimbalable SRB. I mean, it doesn't anymore. They don't make these anymore because we hate Chad tier rockets, apparently. That's for roll stabilization. The interesting thing about this is that this is only needed when SRBs are attached. Delta actually has roll control with no SRBs attached. But how can it roll when there's only one motor? How is that possible? How are you going to do that? If this motor's pointed through the center of mass of the vehicle, there's no way to twist it. And even if you could twist the rocket engine, how is that going to work? Well, because the RS-68A is an open cycle motor, it has exhaust from the turbines. When Delta does not have any SRBs attached to it, the exhaust from the open cycle turbine acts as a vernier engine. Think like Soyuz. It is a single axis, pivotable exhaust dump. That's its roll control when there's no SRBs attached. When there is SRBs attached, you need to create a little bit more moment than just the verniers, so they have gimbalable SRBs. But that right there is a very ingenious engineering solution. It's one of the reasons why Delta is one of my guilty pleasures, because that is very, very smart. That's very smart. But yeah, Atlas and Vulcan don't need gimbaled SRBs, but the nozzles on the GE M63s that are going on Vulcan are tilted out like this. They're going to be tilted out like that. That's to point through the center of mass. It actually makes it a little bit more stable. Yep. It does look funky without the SRBs. I think it looks fantastic. That's a 4.5 meter DCSS. That's I wonder what this is. Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's bringing up a faucet. Did they ever launch a 5 meter configuration? Yeah, see this one right here. Oh no, they never launched single stick. Interesting. I didn't know that. Interesting. They never launched Delta with a 5 meter DCSS and a 5 meter payload fairing with no SRBs. I did not know that. The medium configuration only has the 4 meter interstage. The small DCSS. Huh. Probably doesn't have the thrust for a 5 meter payload with 0 SRBs. Makes sense. I still think Delta is an amazing design. It is an amazing piece of equipment, and it was designed to do stuff. It was designed, all the engineering for Delta was designed for mass rocket launching. Think about it. You look at, Delta ended up being super freaking expensive, but it ended up being super freaking expensive because it was designed to be launched a lot. If you have something that's designed to be used a lot and you don't use it a lot, it's going to end up costing you a lot of money in maintenance fees, right? Because it's sitting there, isn't making any money, right? The way Delta's service and integration equipment are set up was designed to be able to put this together extremely quickly. Delta can be integrated very fast. It's one of my favorite things about it. We read about it when we were trying to come up with solutions for KSP. Delta can be integrated to the launch pad on its processing platforms. So there's stands usually for rockets, and they usually have to put the thing on the stand. Like Falcon 9, for instance. It has stands that are on like railroad tracks that can move around, right? Or they're just on wheels, right? So you have to pick Falcon 9 up off of the transporter when it comes back from flying, which is awesome. And then you have to put it on the processing rings, okay? And then you do all the work that you need to do. It's like a lift, but for a rocket, right? And then you take it off the processing rings with a crane, and then you got to put it on the launch pad. With Delta, the processing platform is part of the erector. It's the same thing. So they have this vehicle here that can just lift up the processing platforms, front and back, right? Just pick up the whole rocket when it's done being worked on and move that whole thing out to the pad. And then the processing platform, if you look at it, see it right there? It has these big freaking slots on it. Big slots. It has these big attachment pieces down here, right? Those chunky attachment pieces are designed to attach to Delta's erector. And then the erector, quite literally, just lifts the processing stools. The whole system was designed to be put together extremely quick because they were anticipating 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20 launches a year instead of one. This whole system was designed to be built really, really fast. It's really, really, really fascinating stuff. And the craziest thing about this is if you look at like Delta IV Heavy integration, right? Check this out. This is from an old Spaceflight Now article, but here, the pictures are amazing. Who took this picture? This might have been Stephen Clark, I think. Look. One processing stool, front and back, can lift up the entire Delta Heavy stack. Now, if that isn't pretty smart engineering, I don't know what is. That is really, really smart. One transport vehicle can transport all different types of rockets. Is that cool or what? And now, okay, I've stood next to a Delta IV Heavy, about as close as this guy is standing to this rocket. I've stood next to it. You can stand inside of the RS-68A's nozzle easily. I can stand up. I'm over I'm about 2 meters tall. I'm 6'4". I can stand inside of that nozzle. I've seen R-68s up close. They're gigantic. They're the size of a truck. Those are empty, right? Yeah, of course. You don't transport the rockets with fuel. The only rockets that get transported with fuel in them are hypergolic spacecraft, right? So, like Dragon capsules and stuff, because they fuel them up and then they bring them to the pad, or solid rockets. Isn't that cool? See what I mean about Delta? It's really god dang smart. The engineering is top tier. It's top shelf. That's so smart, dude. And look, a reaction frame, just like Falcon. Same exact idea. It's a reaction frame. Falcon Heavy has something like this. Oh yeah? SpaceX integrates this part into the pad though. But because the transporter takes the transporter erector, right? Instead of having a fixed erector in the pad, the erector and the frame move, but it's very similar. It's a very similar idea, which is interesting. It's kind of convergent design. There's only so many good ways to put a 3-core booster on the pad. Your truck is the size of a truck? Got him. Dude, the 59 could easily drive underneath here, which is pretty crazy, right? Like I said, I will shill till I'm blue in the face for Delta's engineering. It is a very, very cool rocket. Actually, you want to see this picture? Actually reminded me. What article is this coming from? This is a American Space article by Ben Evans. And that photo, okay, the photo's from ULA, but look. What other rocket do you know can launch with not 1, not 2, but 3 different families of fairings? See that fairing right there? It looks a little weird, right? Something weird about that fairing. That's a Titan fairing. It's a Titan 4 fairing. Delta was built with the commonality to be able to launch with Titan 4 fairings. That's a Titan 4 fairing on that thing. Exactly, Thomas, you already know. Well, Thomas, you brought this up when this thing went to launch, right? You said it was a Titan fairing, and I was looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. It's a trisector fairing. So the fairing actually opens 3 ways instead of a clamshell. It's trisector fairing. That's why there's a seam going down at like 4 o'clock position, right? If you're looking at a clock, there's one seam of the fairing at 12, one over here at 4, and the other one's at 7. Hey, Byron, yeah, check that out. It's trisector, and it's not carbon fiber either. That's just a straight aluminum fairing. Father Builder, it doesn't seem real. I work at the airport, and the 777 still makes you scratch your head. It's huge, isn't it? It's huge. The GE90. Amazing engine. So yeah, just a little bit of a thing for on ULA and the types of rockets that they build and fly. I mean, Vulcan's a pretty damn good design. I really, really like it. Especially that upper stage. Dude, see that upper stage? I would put that upper stage on any rocket. You know why? It's better than most upper stages. Anything. Heck, even this thing on top of a Soyuz would be amazing. It would be, dude, game changer. That 5 meter dual engine RL-10 Centaur 5 is unreal. It's one of the best upper stages ever made. The only thing that's going to be better is the EUS. Delta 4 heavy scale. I wish we could have taken more pictures when we when Das and I and Big D were standing next to the Parker Solar Probe one. Was it the mic that distorted the sound? I don't know. It's a beast, man. It's an absolute monster of a vehicle. Whatever happened to the truck with the exhaust flange? Sorry, I work nights. Please hold. Well, that's what we're going to do here today. Give me 1 second. A floating torso. Yeah, I know. It's those damn robot legs. What are we watching today? So, fellas, I gotta finish wiring this. I gotta finish it. I just had a huge snag with finishing up the wire harness. I finished all the stuff that I needed to finish. You guys know from yesterday that the horn works. I put the license plate light in. That project went okay, except for the fact when the hole saw snapped in half. You know, that was fun. Yeah, I did not have a fun time working on the truck last night. But I have to drive this up to my parents' house this weekend, so it's got to be ready. It's got to be good. And we don't have time tomorrow because people are starting to come in for El Wedding. Are there different paint colors on the truck? It's all more or less red, Rem. But they're all different shades of the same red. I see wires hanging out the window. That's speaker wire, Bren. We got to put the radio. I need to make a new radio harness, dude. Wiring and troubleshooting is your favorite. I actually look forward to it. Well, I got the multimeter out, dude. I had to get the multimeter out last night because I had to figure out my brake switch. Oh, I bought plans for a DIY small shop plasma cutter table. Nice. Big day coming soon. You nervous? No. No. No, not at all. I'm sure. Yeah, no, I'm good. Not nervous at all. See, the reason why I'm like, not nervous. I'm trying to rifle through my head. Like, dude, you know what the thing is about weddings? It's like, planning a wedding is like having a second job. It really is. It's just, Bree and I are so worried about all the other things that you have to do. Like, we're both we're both 154% sure this is what we want, right? Like, easy peasy. Like, we don't, yeah. That's not where the stress is coming from. The stress is coming from literally everything else. Yeah, thanks, Wefrel. Yeah, no, I'm not nervous about... Electron, let me put it to you like this. I'm not nervous about marrying Brimo. That's going to be the best part. It's going to be the best part for me. Dude, she wants to come out and work on... She wants to come out and wrench on the truck with me. She came out and wrenched on the truck with me, even after we didn't stream it. She was just like, okay, let's figure this out. And we figured... We spent our Wednesday night troubleshooting a wire harness together on my 59. Like, I'd be crazy not to put a ring on this girl. You nuts? Like, dude, like, and it's almost like it's too good to be true. Like, I feel bad. Like, I'm like, do you want to go watch like a romantic comedy or something? And she's like, no, I don't like those. I'm like, she's like, we should finish the truck. I'm like, we should finish the truck. Like, all right. Like, I'm not even mad, dude. Like, that's not even the part that what we're both worried about is the wedding going well. Yeah, she wants to. Yeah, we'll buy a Volkswagen, dude. Yeah, we'll buy a Volkswagen Beetle. Don't sweat the other stuff. Things are not going to go the way you want. Dude, I keep telling Bree that, but Bree likes to run a tight ship, dudes. She likes to run a tight ship like that. That's just how she is, dude. And you know what? I'm kind of the same way, dude. You be disciplined, right? Like, I sit here and say that all the freaking time. Got into troubleshoot. I know, Bob. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Freaking believe that? Like, I'm not gonna say I don't trust her because I trust her absolutely. But like, I'm still in the back of my mind. I'm like, am I dead? Is this heaven? Like, is this happening right now? Like, dude, I sit here and I play video games and I teach people about spaceflight and I wrench on my trucks with my soon-to-be wife. Like, what? How did I get here? What's the catch? Yeah, that's what I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall. I'm like, what's going on? My wife. Also, this is still a COVID fever dream. I'm convinced, Bran, like, not fully convinced, but maybe like 20% convinced that. So, guys, I started the day I decided to start streaming like as a side hustle was December 23rd, 2012, literally the end of the Mayan calendar. It was over winter break, right? It was winter break from I took a week off from Christmas break off from whatever stupid job I was working, right? It's probably delivering pizzas or something stupid. Well, those jobs were fun, but anyway, I decided I'm like I'm gonna actually give this thing a shot. I really like this. I really like streaming. It's fun. But that was also the 2012 Mayan apocalypse date, so I'm convinced like I got into like a horrific car accident, right? And I've been in a coma, and this is all a dream. Like, dude, it's weird even saying that, right? Like, I'm like maybe 20% convinced that that's what's going on because some of this stuff I'm like, Are you enjoying the Canadian smoke? It's actually windy out on the Cape, Pylum, so it's not. It outside does not look like the surface of Mars. It just looks a little hazy. Yeah, Remel, hard work is what got me here, man. But the thing about hard work is that, you know, people say like, oh, put in hard work and it'll pay off. Well, that's not always true. Put in hard work where you should be putting in hard work. Put hard work in for stuff that's worth it, you know? Like, nothing against people that like work at McDonald's, but if you have a job at McDonald's, you put in the work there, it's probably not gonna pay off, especially if you don't like food service, right? You put in the hard work where you're gonna get a return out of it, you know? EJ got as a kid by Truck Kun, was reincarnated as a streamer in another world. Work hard but work smart. Yep, don't wake up. Yeah, Alex, you know, I always keep that in the back of my mind, man. Not everybody gets to do this. Not everybody gets to do what I do. There are folks that have a way crappier hand than me, right? And I always keep that in perspective. You know, I always keep it in perspective. Whenever I have problems, I'm just like, look, man, don't fall for it. Don't fall for the first world problems. There are people that have way worse problems than me. You know? Way worse problems. Don't fall for it. It's a trap. Don't do that. We have an RS-25 test today, currently targeting 2:08 p.m. All right, cool. Let's get to wrenching. You are dead since 2012 due to the end of the world, evil joke mode. No, I'd believe it. I'd believe it. If, like, all of a sudden, like, I wake up one day and it's, like, December 24th, 2012, I'd be like, damn it, that was a good dream. But I get it. You know, oh, man, that sucks, you know. Don't ever dismiss your own problems, but keep them in perspective. I downplay them, Aqualex, because they're not problems. Like, okay, we'll take the problem that I had today. I finished the damn wiring harness on the truck. All the systems work. The horn works. You heard it yesterday. I got the license plate illuminated because you have to do that because of Massachusetts code. Like, you have to do that. You have to illuminate your rear license plate. So I wired up the license plate lights. I repainted the rear bumper. It's good enough. It's not the best paint job, but we did it. I only have one light illuminating the license plate from one side because my hole saw broke in half last night. I was just drilling through and then the bit snapped, so that's good. That bumper is made out of some pretty hardcore steel, which probably was the reason. Either that or I was just pushing too hard because I was tired. Also a possibility. Never rule out the possibility that I'm a numbskull. Right? Probably that. So the hole saw broke, so I have one light, but it's good enough. It's a strong light. It's a strong license plate light. It illuminates the plate. You can see it. I shut all the lights off at the garage, turned the lights on. You can see it. It's fine. It's good. There was an attempt. Okay? So I only have one light in the back. I wanted two on either side, but this is good enough. It's good enough. Right? So I got the horn working. I got the license plate lights on, and that should be everything to pass the inspection. And then the brake lights don't work. And then I had to go and figure out why the brake lights don't work. And I started looking at the Ford shop manual, and then I remembered that, hey, ooga booga, caveman brain. I put a wire harness in that's not the stock Ford wire harness. It's a Chevy harness, believe it or not. Or at least it's based off of one. Because the fuse box design, it's based off of a Chevy harness. Right? So the way Chevy wires brakes is very different than the way Ford wires brakes. Ford takes power off of the light switch for a 59. It takes power off of the light switch. And that power comes off of the light switch module, right? And then it goes to the brake switch. Ford uses a hydraulic electric switch, so when you step on the brakes, the hydraulic pressure pushes a piece of metal up and connects and bridges the switch, right? And then power goes back to the turn signal into the steering column, right? And then it goes out, believe it or not, to the tail light bulbs. Chevy does something similar. But Chevy's harness doesn't pick up power from the light switch module. Chevy's module picks up power from the fuse box. Go figure. And Chevy's module goes right from the fuse box into the steering column and then out to the brake switch. Chevy brake switches are usually a open switch button that's literally attached to the brake pedal inside. It doesn't use hydraulics. The Ford stuff uses hydraulics. So I had to remember how I went splicing a Chevy harness to a Ford with a Chevy master cylinder, but with a Ford gauge cluster and a Ford light switch module. It was fun. This is what I did last night. I didn't get to bed till 2 a.m. It was great. But once I figured it out, I had to take apart the whole wire harness underneath the truck. I had to take it all apart to kind of troubleshoot the wires, figure out where they went. And then it was a lot of Googling, a lot of troubleshooting, and then I had to make sure, like, oh, did I fray a wire when I put the horn button in? Did something come unplugged? So I had to check all the connections. I took apart the entire harness last night. It's like an extra 5 hours of work. But by the end of last night, I ended up isolating it to the brake switch, the hydraulic brake switch. It's broken. It kicked the bucket. I don't know how it kicked the bucket. It worked. It was working 2 days ago. Not working now. Had to go find a replacement brake switch for a proportioning valve that comes out of a Chevy with a Ford hydraulic switch teed into it. That was fun to find. I ended up having to drive almost back into the city to find a parts store that had this part, because not many people carry it. And I lucked out. They had one. So I had to drive into the city this morning, drive back. I put the brake switch in, and this was actually before I put the lights on the bumper back in. So I put the brake switch in. That worked. And then I went to finish up the bumper, and then I realized that I ran out of the bullet connectors that I needed to use for that. Now, I could have just probably used something else, but the tail, I had to splice it off of the tail light piece. So there's the light module, there's the rear tail light, and then there's a wire coming out of it, and the wire has an old Ford attachment piece on it. And you have to use a certain type of bullet connector to attach to the Ford plugs. You have to use a 17 cal bullet connector, not a 5/32 bullet connector, and I only had 5/32 bullet connectors. I didn't have 176 cal bullet connectors, so I had to drive back to the damn parts store and then drive back here and then hook that all up, and now everything works. And I just checked to make sure that everything works, and I literally came in here and started the stream. Everything is still out. I just basically stopped working and started coming in here. Well, I'm here to help the best I can with wiring. I figured it out already, Sawyer. I did all the troubleshooting last night. Drives a Ford made out of Chevy parts. EJ's a Chevy fan. Now, the parts that matter are Ford. I will say that 60 Chevy brand is... The engineering is... It's better than Ford's. It's way better than Ford's. Yeah, like way better than Ford's. 60 Chevy had it down pat, man. It's unbelievable how simple it is. How they were able to take ridiculously difficult concepts. I mean, they were difficult at the time, and make them that simple. You're a harness. Well, you're a cantaloupe. got him. My 75 F100 has a spring switch on the brake pedal. Yeah, Willie. Yeah. Ford in the 50s though has the hydraulic one. Yeah, they switched in the 70s to an open switch, a dead man style switch. So the switches only work. It's like an arcade button basically. It only works when you push on it. When the brake, or no, it works when it opens. Excuse me. When it's closed, when the button is pressed, there's no connection. When it opens, the spring decompresses and then it makes the connection. Space era Chevy, yep. It's nice when you have someone to run to get you parts and tools, huh? Yeah, it's great. So, yeah, my first world problems were literally an $8 part screwed up my entire wire harness. So, that's what I mean. Perspective. It's an $8 part. I fixed it. I mean, I have to get this stuff done, but yeah, that's bringing you guys up to speed. But actually, like I said, the way Chevy has that brake pedal set up is actually super trick, right? So, to save money, and this isn't like, this is 60s and 70s and 80s Chevy. So 60s, 70s, and 80s Chevy was not like, let's save money by making everything out of plastic. No. The logic problem that they had to solve was that the brake lights are actually the turn signal indicators. So that made it so you didn't need like a 3-filament bulb in the brakes, right? You needed 2 filament, one for the running lights, one for the turn signal and the brake lights. Keep the bulb simple, right? So what they did was the power for the brake goes into the turn signal indicator. So, the thing. Now, this is what confused me. I was looking at it, I'm like, why the heck does the brake switch go to the steering wheel? That makes no sense. And then I thought about it for a little bit, did a little bit of Googling, and I'm like, oh. So think about it here for a second. So you're driving down the road, you're going straight, turn signals aren't on. You step on the brakes. Brake lights come on. So say you come to a stop, right? And you want to take a left. You turn on your turn signal while your brakes are on. You can't, the turn signal light bulb doesn't just get brighter just because you have your turn signal and your brake light on. Chevy has this trick thing, and I'm pretty sure Ford does this too, but Chevy has this trick thing that there's hardwired logic in the turn signal that when it has power from the brakes and you initiate the turn signal, it bridges a straight connection from 12 volts, constant 12, right? And it flips the logic for the turn signal. So if I'm stopped at an intersection, right? And I have my left turn signal on and the brakes are on, instead of the turn signal taking the light and going, starting in the off position and going on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, when you have the turn signal activated, there's a switch inside of the steering wheel. There's a little bit of, it's hardwired logic. That's what it is. It's like a primitive PCB, right? With I believe it's a transistor or a relay in there or something, right? If I'm stopped at an intersection, left turn signal on, brakes on, instead of sending the signal to the light because the light's already on, it flips the logic and it goes off on, off on, off on, off on. It flips it. It flips the turn signal. It inverts the turn signal, so it goes on, off, on, off, on, off, instead of, like, it starts in the on position and then switch to off. So on, off, as opposed to off, on, right? It's a little trick thing that they got going on in there. It's actually really cool. I was like, oh, that's really neat. So I spent last night teaching myself how to do this and figuring that all out, and now I got it fixed today. Think of a 3-way switch in a long hallway or stairwell. Yep. Should have a flasher. The flasher's wired into the fuse box. It's got the flashers on there too, yeah. The flasher is cool in itself, Willie. This is like, it's computer logic, dude. It's coding logic, to be honest with you. But it's coding logic before coding logic. Because they had this stuff figured out in the 40s. And computers weren't, I mean, computers were kind of a thing, but not like that. So the flasher, what it does is Willie, how does it work? There's a resistor in there, right? And when the resistor saturates or something, it discharges the signal. So basically they get the current to build up in it and then it discharges. Build up and then it discharges. Build up and then it discharges. Basically, they have like a toll booth for electricity. That's what a flasher does. That's how you can get the directionals to. I mean, they still use that to this day. It's really, really smart. Really smart for no computers. It's really smart for no computers. So next time you want to teach yourself, draw the components on paper. I didn't draw it out on paper, Bob, but yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Should do that from now on. Bimetallic reed switch. That's what it's called. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the flasher has a resistor. Your truck is old, and as it does not have intermittent wipers. No intermittent. It's 3 speeds, so there's low, medium, and high on the wipers. You're thinking of a capacitor. Hang on, let me see. Three-prong flasher example. Yeah, it's a bimetallic switch. That's what it is. See, check this out. So there's a resistor right there, right? And this resistor, the resistor makes the electricity go up here. And when, okay, so think about it like water, all right? When the electricity fills up this, it starts to get hot. When it gets hot, it deforms and it makes contact. It makes heat. Right? It heats up, and when it heats up, the metal, ding, it bridges the connection. It discharges, the heat goes away, and it goes back into position. That is insanely smart for what it is. That's really smart. Really smart hard-coded logic. Hard-coded electrical engineering. It's hard-coded programming. That's really, really smart. It's the other way around. Did I mess it up? See, I'm still learning, right? So heat comes from the resistor and it heats the switch and then it makes the connection and it follows the path of least resistance. Oh, heat builds up in the resistor, not the switch. Okay, I said it wrong. Makes you appreciate how crazy all the 60s rocket inertial guidance systems were. Dragon, that's kind of where I'm going with this. And this is the reason why I wrench on cars, because you can see the logic. Can you imagine building a guidance system for a rocket with no computer? How do you do that? How does that even work? Let alone putting it on the vehicle. So how they make guidance systems for rockets, so you said tubes, Cyberlink, you're absolutely right. But tubes are heavy. That's a lot of mass. Remember, the delta V formula, right? What they used to do, because it's an ICBM, right? It only needs to go up, and it only needs to get to main engine cutoff, right? And then warhead flies on a ballistic trajectory. No guidance system. Intercontinental ballistic missile, right? All it needs is just the nuke, and the nuke needs to blow up after a certain amount of time. Done, right? Or it has a fuse or some kind of weird detonator on it, but it doesn't. That's the nuke. I don't know too much about that. So how they used to do it, right, is the rocket would be radio controlled. Think like a drone. There's no guidance systems on a drone. You're the guidance system, right? And you steer it. Now, don't get me wrong. They didn't have guys in the blockhouse that are literally playing Kerbal with ICBMs. No. They had a computer, but the problem with computers in the the mid 50s, early to mid 50s, the problem with the computers is that they were the size of a truck. So you can't put that on the rocket, right? Can't put that on the rocket. So they put it in an armored blockhouse next to the launch pad with an antenna, and the rocket was literally radio controlled. Like an RC car. That's how they did guidance systems. And then they had basically what would end up looking like a modern day server room with the computer and the guidance system. You gotta watch that video on Linus. Linus is awesome, dude. Brimo actually, I knew who Linus was, but Brimo is a big Linus fan, and I watch Linus with her. Life's been good to me so far. Does she have a sister? Nah. Yeah, freaking date night is watching the WAN show sometimes. Does Linus have a sister? I don't know. Can we clone her? Maybe. How did you get so lucky? Fractal, I ask myself that freaking question every freaking day. Literally every day. Like, dude, we've lived in this house for almost a year. We bought the house in June, and we let the sellers stay there in July rent free. And then we moved in August. So on August 1st, right? We've been here for a year. I still, every day when I'm walking out to the shop, and every day when I open the door and I see that, I'm still like, what the frick, dude? You know I'm only joking, right? I know, man. I know. I'm playing along with it. That's not a no. She's mine, man. You can't have her. Even if you clone her, she's mine. Go away. Like, dude, when I first started working on this truck, it was in my parents' garage, in a garage that was probably a quarter of the size of this. I mean, you guys saw those streams if you've been watching that long. It was not a lot of space to work. Look at this. Look at what we got now. And I say we because you guys are the reason we got here, you know. It's kind of nuts, man. Kind of nuts, dude. Kind of D's. Got him. Anyway, let's go out there. Let's button up the harness. Let's finish this stupid thing. Let's go. Stand by for loss of signal from the office. As expected. D's my vans. Brand, you buy that coronet? You didn't want to buy that coronet. You didn't want to buy it. You should have, but you didn't want to. All right, I'll go on out to the garage. Okay. Do we have acquisition of signal, chat? Chat acquisition of signal? I should have, but it's logistically not feasible at the moment as I look more into it. Oh, all right. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna finish buttoning this up. There's a couple of stretch goals, but yeah, it's gonna take a second. It's gonna take a couple hours, and then when we're done here, I'll go wash up, and then we'll play Stellaris for the rest of the night. We'll do a nice long stream today because I was an hour late already. So let's get going, man. All right, let me show you what I'm dealing with. Around the back, that's what I'm dealing with. We got to fix that. I had to troubleshoot. I had to figure it out. Yeah, fun. So, yeah, we got to button that all back up, and then I got to clean up the harness and then make sure everything works again, and we'll go. Is there an engine fire in 30 minutes? Yeah, I think so. All right. Let's boogie. So first thing I got to do is make sure that we take the negative off. You don't want to wire when the wires are hot. That's not smart. Okay, so we got to finish that. Light. I mean, this looks worse than it is. These are just repair loops. That's why this looks so much like spaghetti. But making it looking like spaghetti is good. I mean, if we have time, we'll try to figure out what the heck's going on with that thing. If we have time. But, yeah, got the horn button in. Doesn't work, but I didn't have time to take this thing apart and try and figure out how it works. This is a GM steering column from like a Monte Carlo or something. So I just put the horn button on the dash. Doop, doop. So let's get to this. Let's see if we can put this up here. There we go. You guys are on the headrest. There we go. Cool. Respect to that t-shirt. Thanks, Moo. So that's one of those death stick columns? No. No, not at all. It's collapsible, Tessa. It's collapsible. It's also a tilt column, too. It is in there because the truck has power steering. 59 Fords never came with power steering from the factory. They didn't do power steering until a couple of years later, and I think it was 63 or 64. They completely redesigned the truck in 65 or 65 to 66, but I digress. This column is from the 70s. It's a collapsible column, so I won't get shish kebabbed if we get into a head-on collision. You know, just because you have safety features and stuff doesn't mean, you know, it's like, oh, the car's too complicated with all the damn safety features in it, boy. No, a collapsible column is something you should probably have, especially if you're choosing to wheel around a car from the 60s and the 50s like this one. Yeah. The other columns, guys, so the original column, like this one is collapsible, meaning that there's a crumple zone basically built into it, like a crush core on Falcon 9, right? The old columns are one long metal tube that bolts directly to the frame of the truck. So if you got into a head-on collision and you went forward, and worse, that rod went backwards, human shish kebab. Yeah, human shish kebab. Yeah, they figured that one out, that you probably shouldn't do that. So they put a crush core in the steering column. There's a crush core built into this. So yeah, this I'm not going to get skewered if we get into a head-on. Any plans for a different wheel closer to a stock look in the future? Yeah, maybe an I did it column in the future. Yeah, probably. I don't mind the Chevy one, honestly. I don't. I painted over the SS logo. There should be an SS logo on here. I just painted over it. It's just crappy spray paint. You could take it off, but yeah, there is an SS logo right there. All right, let's roll. So wiring is cold. So the first thing we got to do is put the light switch back in. See this terminal right there on the light switch? That's where the Ford brake system powers from. The Chevy one powers from the fuse box. So yeah, this right here is a jumper for the dome light. The reason why I have to jump a wire from dome light power to here is the dimmer switch. So a lot of American cars had this light module on here, and this light module is actually really cool. So the further you pull the switch out, the more connections it makes, right? So if you pull the switch out one click, so that's nothing. You pull the switch out one click, it powers the running lights, and that's what these wires are. And you pull it all the way out, it powers the headlights, which is what these wires are. And then these wires are spliced to the instrument panel as well. So yeah, when it's fully out like that, it's powering all the lights. All the lights are on. Now, the dome light doesn't get power. I mean, it has power here, but there's a switch. This right here, you can actually twist it. See? You can twist the thing. That's the dimmer switch. This sets the brightness on your gauge cluster. This is the wire. One of these actually goes to the instrument cluster. It's one of the brown wires. The instrument cluster and the instrument cluster bulbs and the running lights are actually wired to the same switches, right? So when you flip this all the way to the left, it clicks. I don't know if you guys can hear it. When you flip it all the way, it clicks. And if you notice, there's a metal tab right there. When that tab clicks into position, it bridges the connection and powers the interior lights. It's actually really smart. The crazy thing about this is that this design, this one is from a 59. No doubt. I mean, you know this is from the 50s because that's Bakelite plastic. It's Bakelite plastic, and the switch is still metal mostly, right? The 97 has a switch like this. I'm not even kidding. The 97 has a switch. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not the same exact design. Like this one has fuses integrated to the back, right? The 97 switch doesn't look exactly like this, but it's operational control. So running lights, headlights, dimmer switch, that works exactly the same on a truck that's 30 years newer, which is pretty crazy. I mean, you know, we always say like, oh, you know, they don't make them like they used to, boy. Well, they used to just do the same thing over and over again because why change it? This works. It works great. It's very simple, you know. But yeah, no, the 97 has a switch that works. It has the exact same operating principle. So one click out is running lights, two clicks out is the light is full lights, right? And then the dimmer switch, twisting it, gauge panel brightness, and then the dimmer switch clicks it like that. It turns on the dome light. Same exact operation principle, which is really cool. I think that's really neat. But anyway, this has got to go back in. So first thing we got to do is actually pull the light switch out. So there's a button here that you press like this, right? And then you can pull the knob out. There's a release pin here. It's spring loaded. You can press it right there and pull the thing out. We got to pull it out because this thing has to go through the dashboard. So we're going to put this down in here. And then I'm going to tuck away the repair loops that I put in. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I put the repair loops in because I wasn't sure what I was doing. You don't need repair loops. And if you do have repair loops, they absolutely do not need to be this long. That's what's ruined. That's what makes this wire harness look really ridiculous. Okay, so this is the dash, and these are all the gauge clusters, all the gauge cluster lights. What's this? Let's see, all these repair loops just get in the way. Okay, this is tachometer power, or tachometer signal. So this is for the tach right here. This is the signal that should be able to pick up the pulses from the ignition coil and tell you what your revolutions per minute are. It picks up the pulses from it, right? And then it pulses it through, and then your tach starts going. That thing is not working, so I'm just gonna put that back there for now. And then we'll just put this in here like that for a second. And now what we gotta do is thread the light switch to the dash here. Oh, hang on, my monitors went out. Yeah, that's the ignition switch on the left there, yep. Yep, I'll tell you what, boy, that's the damn ignition switch. And then down there on the floor is the harness that we're gonna need to rewire to get the radio working. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna go in here. And then we gotta thread this here so the light switch mounts. Now there's a threaded piece here that screws through the dash, then that's what mounts the damn thing. Make sure you don't cross thread this thing. It doesn't like it when you cross thread it. Okay, so now what I need, this is just, the switch is a flathead. You need a wide flathead screwdriver like this. Wide peepo screwdriver. And then this goes in here like that. There's a bezel that says lights on it, and I want to make sure that it's straight up. I'm trying to clock it right. Okay. Just make sure that that thing is, yep, okay. Almost there. There. Okay, cool. That ain't going nowhere. Now the last thing that we got to do with the light module is press that spring-loaded button again, and then there we go. Okay, now before we go any further, what I'm going to do is make sure the thing works. So we'll switch over to the high camera here for a second, and then I'll shut the shop lights off so you guys can see a little bit better. There's always a motion sensor light in here. That's why one of the lights is still on. Okay, so we got power. We would have heard a short circuit by now. So the light should work because it's on a bypass. So the light should work. Ready? So. Okay, that's lows. That's just, yeah, just running lights. Okay, and then make sure the foot switch still works. There we go. That's high beams, low beams. Yeah, the low high beams on this are actually a button that's on the floor. Okay, low beams, high beams, that's working. Okay, let me, I'm just gonna make sure, yep, dome light turns on. The dimmer switch on the dash, here, I can show you. Ow. I'm trying to put my melon in a way that where you guys can see it. See it? See the gauges turning on? And then you can see the reflection from the dome light right here. So you can set the brightness. See? Working correctly. Good. Turn the lights back on. Hey, all systems. Why do you look crammed in there? The interior looked way bigger when you're not in it. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. You calling me fat? You call me fat, dude? What are we doing today? I'm just finishing up the ignition, or finishing up the wire harness, man. Yeah. All systems. I was working on the truck last night, and I started to get all, like, the horn, for instance, which doesn't work because I don't have it hooked up. Because I was troubleshooting. I think it's this one. The horn should work now. Yep, okay. So I got the horn hooked up, and the reason why I was troubleshooting it is because I hooked up the horn, and I needed to do a license plate light to illuminate it, right? And I basically had everything mocked up on jumper wires just to make sure that everything works, because you don't finalize a wiring harness, right, without testing and making sure that it works. And then you kind of mock it up, and then you install it, right? Like, then you make sure it works, and then you tape it up, and then you put it in, right? Like, so I was testing everything before I finished, because I had the rear wire harness apart. Notice that we had no brake lights. So yeah, that's good. We had no brakes. No, we had brakes, like the truck was stopping, but there's no brake lights. So I had to go digging apart that and figuring out what went wrong. And I figured out that we had a bad brake switch, and I replaced it this morning, and now the brake lights work. But this little excursion cost me a good amount of time for a part this big. It's a tiny little thing, right? Yonk, yonk. Watching you work on the truck while doing linear algebra. Yeah, Storm, I gotcha. On this truck, would it be easier to tape things off and paint while everything is on the truck, or take the panels off and paint them off the truck? It depends on two things: money and time. You have a lot of money and a lot of time, take them off, paint them right. Don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of time, want a crappy paint job, or just something that looks good enough, paint it right there. Test in 60 seconds, question? Here. I'm not. Okay, we have sound.
To begin soon on the Fred Hayes test stand at NASA's Stennis Space Center. Please stay tuned.
Okay, you guys can hear that through the microphone, right? I'm not picking up on this desktop audio. You can just pick it up through the mic. Prepare to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding. Okay. Oh, they keyed the microphones on. We should see it go here in a second. Nice, Kyron. There you go. Well, good. Hey. The anesthetic going wrong is not the worst problem to have, you know what I'm saying? The liver thing, or the liver thing first and foremost, right? Is there desktop audio? I could try to play it, guys, but it might blow out. Here. I mean, can you hear this now? Like here, let me shut the mic off. It's gonna double feedback, dudes. Okay, cool. They zapped 4 tumors the size of a clementine. Yikes. Okay. All right, cool. So, is this a full duration test? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Power through it, Kyron. You got this, buddy. Ooh, new test stand shot. All right. You see the locks and hydrogen barges there in the back. I'm pretty sure if I'm looking at this right, hydrogen's on the left. Locks are the ones that are over here. Those ones have liquid oxygen. The ones over there have liquid hydrogen. And as always, keep them far apart from each other. Yeah, it feels like a mysterious door with mist. Yeah, don't walk into it. Trust me on that one. Should see an ignition here very shortly. This test stand was originally designed to test Saturn V stages, and then they switched it to space shuttle motor testing in the early 70s. Yeah, look at the truck, man, in the background over there. It's a big test stand, dude. Big test stand. Any minute now. It's in Mississippi, Lycan. Yeah, it's the Stennis test stand. They just boat them in from. Yeah, they just bring them. I mean, the engines come in on trucks nowadays. The fuel comes in on barges, but they have shipped cores up there. The SLS core was on a test stand not far from here. This is the A2 test stand, if I'm looking at that right. So it's the Fred Hayes test stand. And there's the B1 and B2 test cell, which is a twin cell test stand. That's where the B2 stand is where they tested the SLS core. It's not Mobile. No. Give me 1 second. right, you see that the motor is primed. The motor is primed and thermally conditioned. It's designed to be really cold. They have to get it down to temperature.